I was muted.
Me too. I'm on mute. Oh man, it's so good to see you, Sydney. It's so good to be back. I feel like I've been missing, and even though the last episode, where I was here, I still feel like even now today that I'm just coming back just after work and everything. So
I know you've been doing big things.
I'm stepping up a little bit. I got a few more responsibilities, but outside of that, I'm still running in the race.
I feel that. I know that race runs so well.
Oh my goodness. I have to say in our intro, during the, before we actually come on live, I love how your picture opens up. Your eyes are so piercing. That's so cinematic.
Thank you. That's my headshot. That's one of my headshots.
Fire. It's complete fire. I'm like, that is piercing. Who did that for you? Anyway.
Gray.
Hey, Arlena.
Arlena, hi.
Welcome. She's probably going to peek in for a little bit. Gray?
Yeah, do you remember him from JC?
I feel like I do.
Are we talking about Gray O'Neill?
Yeah, Gray O'Neill.
Yeah, that's our great.
That's
our great North Carolina photographer. If you notice, most of the people on our shows, if you see their pictures, you can tell his style.
Oh gosh, I love him. He's amazing.
It's crispy. It's like phenomenal. It's like you're a person in paper. It's pretty impressive. I love it. He has great work.
Yeah, Gray O'Neill's great. I'm so bad with names, and I'm like, I say his name all the time, and then like I'm on the spot, and I'm like, Gray. I'm like, remember him? But no, he's a big time. He's awesome. I mean, just listen. He comes to Tampa, so
shout out to Gray. Shout out to you, Gray. If you ever catch this episode, we appreciate your work, and we value such a. You've got that eye. Yeah. So welcome everybody to the show of Pretty Smart. This is going to be a really interesting topic. It's public school versus private school. Yes. And I could relate, being that I have my oldest daughter. She went to a private school for all elementary. And then when she got to middle school, she's got thrown into a public school. And that was a big challenge for her. We got his link down here on the screen. Yeah.
There he is.
By Gray. There it is.
He's great.
So, my oldest daughter, and it was a transition for all of us, like as parents as well, because we had to experience the emotional changes that she dealt with the transition.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure there was. And what do you think? What did she ever say what the transition is? What about it upset her?
Yeah.
What's the differences?
Yeah, right. Because I never went to a private school. So I was learning it with like her, even though I knew what public school was like. I knew she was going to face what I faced in public school. Yep. So at our private school, they were more engaging with the students. It was a smaller group. So it was a lot of one-on-one work that happened. There wasn't any teasing that went on. Everybody was respectful. Wow. They taught them mannerisms. They even taught them about the human bodily functions and things like that. And, and so if I can just be blunt, some days my daughter had bad hair days, when she was going to the private school, and nobody ever made fun of her. They're just like, oh, it's okay. We have those days like that. We're not always perfect. But when she goes to public school, they're like, who did your hair? Who did your hair? It was like, oh my goodness. So now it's like this whole thing, image is such a high concentration of like, you got to look a certain way to be accepted and all this stuff. So I think I know her public school was more based on values and the inside of a person versus the cosmetic side.
Mm.
So at public school, she's dealing with the cosmetic side of things.
Yeah. Oh, that's hard. That's really hard. And
It is.
It gives you a complex. It does. Being from public school too. I mean, I was annihilated. Like the stuff they did to me in high school. Oh yeah. And so I feel really bad for her. You know, my mom always said, if you can make it through middle school, you can make it through anything.
She's making it.
Same for high school.
Oh my goodness. But you know, she pulled me to the side, and I'll tell you, there was a moment where my heart just crushed. Oh. She said, Mom, how come you didn't tell me public school was like this? Oh, I felt like I failed. Oh. We gotta. Guess it still depends on the school, no matter what. My niece is at private school. Yes, it does. And I have a lot of spoiled kids who teased her because they knew she didn't have. Oh my goodness, have things.
I have heard of that too, but you know, it was a different experience for you. It's different everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure there's bullying everywhere, but your daughter didn't experience it like she does now, and
Yeah. She so the bullying, and she didn't know. I know it sounds funny, but it shouldn't. But she didn't know what ghetto behavior was. You know, I mean, she was coming home like, Mom, what does this mean? What does square up mean? What is? I'm like, oh my goodness! Now I got to put you in. Now I got to put you in the loop on the lingo. You know.
Yeah.
She just was so, you know, she didn't have that street edge.
Yeah.
So they were telling her
experienced it, you know.
Experienced it. And a lot of the kids at our school, they like to fight. That's like proving their bigness, you know.
There's a lot of that.
Mm-hmm. She never experienced any of that.
Yeah.
So now I'm having to tell her, you might have to put some people in their place. I'm just going to say that. Because I can't say what I want to say on camera.
No, but you're right.
I'll take the fall if you know.
Sometimes you do. It's hard. That's hard. And that's hard for you too, because you have to figure out how do I teach and shift, and, you know, because you have to teach her too. Like now you're teaching her new lingo, and you're teaching her how to defend herself in a way.
Yes. And I've gone up to the school, it hadn't even been a full year. I've been up to the school probably about 4 times.
Oh, wow.
They like ripped out her ponytail and ran through the school with pulled it out. The girls were pushing on her. A boy on the school bus punched her in the face. When I tell you, see, I'm talking nice now. I'm a beast about my baby. I said I want his name, and I want what bus stop he gets off. And I met him at the bus stop, and I met the bus driver at the bus stop. This is the clean version that you guys are seeing today.
Oh, mama!
And I went up there once, and I've never heard from that kid again.
This day, the kid's still missing.
Never heard again. And you know what? My daughter came home one day and she said, Mom, I heard you went to the school bus. The kid said, don't mess with, he said, I'm not going to mess with you anymore. I seen your mother. That's what the kid reported to my daughter.
Good.
You know, so it's challenging. It's hard. It was hard.
Yeah. But you got to think, and this is a sad thing to say, but why does he think it's okay to punch her in the face?
That's a learned behavior that he was probably dealing with at home.
Exactly.
You know, and that's another thing. You know, teachers at her school, Sydney, would say, you know, would have these pep talks with my daughter. You know, your mother is one of the ones who care. A lot of times the kids here, their parents just send them to school to to go along with the herd, I guess. And I'm not that parent. I'm coming to the campus. I want to know what's happening on the board. What are the activities? I want to see the teachers. I want to meet y'all. I want to text you. I want to call you.
I want to be able to call you if I got questions. First name basis, okay?
Yeah. Yep.
Love it. That's great.
But you know, like Keone said, it really doesn't matter. Whether it's a private school, sometimes the private schools are worse.
They are. And if you are that one, kid that may have gotten a scholarship to that school, I've heard of them being very bullied by the rich, or people whose parents are more well off and can pay for it. Because let's be real, private schools are very much more expensive. And that's why you have such a difference in public schools and private schools, and the amount of teachers to students in a classroom, the materials they have access to. And, private school is going to have a lot more than public schools ever have given. And I'm getting off sidetrack, but yeah, they get bullying too. So you got to think, if you're that kid that can't afford, or you come with that not designer backpack.
Wow. Here, check this out. Do you think that where you go to school helps determine who you are? Oh,
I like that.
What traits you have when you're older? Absolutely. To a certain point.
Yeah. We know you handled business. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I know. That's why I said, you're like, I'm doing the sweet side now. I'm like, I can imagine.
I was beast mode.
The mama bear. You don't play with her.
That bus driver got off the bus and said, "Ma'am, I'm going to handle it. I promise you." Because I looked him in eyeball to eyeball. I said, "If you don't, I will."
Yeah. I love it.
So
that's amazing. That's beautiful, Mom. You're a great mom. You
shout out to moms out there who's got to stand up for the kids.
Like,
you know, it's because we're in this. We send them off, but we're still in that world with them some kind of way.
Yeah, we are.
Commenting on what that comment was in the box. Do you think, the schools alter who we are, or who we become?
Yeah, so I can. I mean, I think about what I went through in my public school experience. And I think it did shape a lot of who I am today. And I have this I always need to be over kind in public. I don't know why.
Okay. What does that mean? So it shaped you how you are today. Are you over kind because they weren't kind to you then? Is that okay?
And I think because I saw what other people went through. And, when I was getting bullied, I'm sure there was times I wasn't the kindest to people too. I think back and I'm like, man, you shouldn't have said that. It wasn't to a level that some of these people could go. You know what I mean? I would see people get tormented in my high school. I mean,
I got a confession to make.
What?
I was a bully.
Were you?
I was a bully in high school.
There you go. Did that shape you to who you are today?
Oh my gosh, yes, I'm double kind. And after graduation and I started college and everything, I had this moment, this aha moment about what I said to the high schoolers when I was in high school, how my words had affected them growing up. Now we're young, we're adults now. So I went back to everybody that I could find and I sent them a personal message of an apology. I called them and I wanted them to hear my voice to say, I know I was mean to you in high school. I owe you a huge apology. Would you please forgive me for hurting you the way I did? And so you can see some of them as adults just rebloom and brighten up because, can you imagine even as a kid, if someone ever said anything mean to you, that you still remember it? I still remember what happened to me.
Yeah.
And so I think, and I think one of the responses I got was, even though he didn't say it, I knew it was what he needed to hear.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm cleaning my slate. I'm not going to be like that.
Good for you. Good for you. That's like owning up to it and changing it. It's most people don't do that. So, that's really awesome. Honestly, I don't know.
I got bullied and then I became a bully.
Exactly. And I was going to say, I feel like that's kind of what happens. It's insecurity and defensiveness. And, some things I look back and I'm like, I see why they bullied me for that. They were insecure, or I see why I said that at some time because I was insecure. Yeah. Some of this stuff was just cruel. Some people's parents didn't raise them right. The other thing that was really hard about school was the rumors. the rumors that people just make up about you and you cannot go back or change them, even though you have never met this person, know nothing about them, yet there's a big rumor about it. Now everybody's calling you the S word and the every other kind of word when you walk down the hallways.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that my daughter is facing. So myself and another teacher on campus has partnered together to protect my daughter, right? So in the meeting, she tells my oldest daughter, she said, you can always come to me and let me know who bullied you or who pulled your hair or who's hitting on you and stuff like that. And my daughter, she goes, I would like to remain anonymous because I don't like the rumors that happen with other kids that tell on the kids that bullied them.
Mm-hmm.
She sees that. And so she's like, Mom, can you, if we solve this, can I remain anonymous? And they just talk to the kid without me being there. And I'm like, we can do that for now, but at some point I'm going to need you to stand up. Mm-hmm. And let them know, if you keep doing this, I'm going to expose you. Mm-hmm. And I want them to see your courage. And I said, being courageous can be scary sometimes.
Yes.
Telling the truth can be scary sometimes in a world full of lies, you know?
Absolutely.
So
that is so true.
Mm-hmm.
That's so hard. I'm so sorry she's going through that.
Oh, girl.
Kids are cruel, man.
Kids are cruel, but I don't give a shit. I'm cruel too.
Right. You're right.
Oh, I probably shouldn't say that on camera, but you. Mm-hmm.
Why? What mom doesn't feel the same way?
Bullying can take. Yes.
Absolutely. People. Absolutely. Yeah. So that kind of makes me think here. Okay, since we're kind of talking about homeschool, public and private. Is homeschool such a bad thing?
No, depending on who's homeschooling you, because there can be abuse in the home.
So why don't you think more people do homeschool? I guess, I
think it's a variety of things. If you have to work, if you have to be a full-time parent, if you're a single parent, and then Keone.
Some people don't want to be around their damn kids that much.
Yep. I'm okay. That's a great answer.
I can relate to that.
Because I meant to say, I know my mom for a fact. Like the moms who used to have to come to school and get you when you messed up, I guarantee you they will never say it. They were less mad about you messing up in school than they had to come off work, which means they're losing money.
Yes.
And then you got to be home because you're suspended. Now you got to figure out a way to get you taken care of and fed breakfast because. So I know it's like,
You're like,
get
no,
out. That's piece away from you.
Literally me just asking because I don't have children. I just see my friends and my nieces and nephews and what they go through with their public and private and whatever schools they go to because they all go to different ones. Yeah. So I get that outside. So I'm literally asking, why don't more people homeschool? So you're saying it's really timing, like parents
maybe what Keone said.
Yeah. You want your kids out your damn house.
The heck out. I need some alone
Get out.
time. Let's think about it. When
COVID forced everybody to homeschool pretty much.
I was like, oh, this is
bad.
I don't mean to come in so much, but y'all saying some things that are clicking me. So you know how COVID had a lot of people having to stay home with their kids while they were on Zoom. It's like I think it was the guy that plays Greg, I forget his name. Everybody hates Chris Gregory on Abbott Elementary. Mm-hmm. And he was explaining on Jimmy Fallon. Yeah. He was like, what it takes us to get them settled just to say action, right? He's like, and I have friends that go, well, my two kids at home, they're such a pain. And he's like, well, think about this. Your teacher has 20 of those. You're just dealing with 2. They got 20 of your children in their classroom.
Oh my goodness, that is so true. It's 20 of them. It's 20 of y'all to one teacher. Can you imagine how the teacher feels before they go home?
They're so underpaid.
I know. And there's so many personalities jumping off. Kids now.
Bad kids, good kids.
Right.
Good kids. Oh.
It's a lot. Yeah. So I definitely agree with that. When I was in the beginning, I homeschooled our oldest daughter. I homeschooled my oldest until she was almost 5. I was good with it until the demands became more like, I was like, okay, I'm ready for you to go to school now. I think I set a solid foundation for you. I think you'll fly from this point forward. This time around with my youngest, Lily, no, sign her up. What's the youngest she can get in?
You sound like my best friend. Like that was her. Like he's 4. They have school for 4-year-olds.
Yes.
You're going.
Yes. If they take them at newborns, let me know. No.
Yeah. Right.
So
daycare is so expensive, but
daycare is expensive. Daycare is paying rent.
Mm-hmm. That's what I mean. My sister, when they tell me what they were paying, I'm like, what?
Yes. Check this out. Gregory says, I would homeschool my kids depending on the year and my career.
So homeschooling would have to fit. It's answering my question. It would have to fit your career, obviously. And let's be real, life is so expensive now. You really need 2 incomes in the household. And so it's hard for parents unless they do work from home still. Yeah. I mean, he's right. Depending on what time of year, I mean, and job.
Yeah. You know, with me working from home and then having to homeschool, because I went through both. There was a season during COVID where we experienced both. I would always have to, Keone knows, I would always have to put the class on hold. I would always have to, there was always a baby crying or something going, oh my goodness. I never want. He saved me so many times. He had my back. He was fighting for me behind the scenes that I didn't even know. And then one day we had this conversation about me keeping my job because of it. And I said, oh, this is getting scary. I'm ready for school to open up, because it's challenging. It's challenging.
It is. Oh man, I don't know how you do it.
I don't know how I did it either.
You don't remember what you did?
Doing it.
You don't remember what you did?
No.
We talked about teaching the older one how to take care of her while you were teaching classes.
Yep.
So because she wasn't taking care of it, she was just kind of doing her own thing.
Yes.
So you worked on her with, hey,
yes,
when mama's teaching class, this is what I want you to do. If she makes this noise, if she's hungry, do this. Yeah, you did that.
Yes, we did go. I did wind up doing that. You're right. And then after class, the living room was a shit show to keep the baby quiet. There was food and but I didn't care at that point. I was like, this is the bullet I'm willing to bite. It worked. My daughter was so proactive. She was like, she would whisper, Mom, can we have the Pop-Tarts? I'm like, yeah. Can we have the popsicles? Yeah. Can we have the apple juice?
Whatever you want.
Whatever you want. I went through whatever you want phase. Yep. And it worked for a long time. And so now she knows, the youngest, she knows how to stay quiet now, Oh boy, but that was pulling teeth with the Novocaine. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Am I using the word?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. So I actually have an experience with teaching classes in a child because me and my wife fostered for a little bit. And it was short. It's like a week and some. She ended up getting to go a lot faster. So we had her, and so for the first 3 days, I didn't have any classes. Okay, it was good taking her to school. Had to get up at 4:30 in the morning because it was an hour away. Ooh, that was fun. And then pick her back up at 2, and then get her back home an hour away. Yeah, because it was just a temporary foster, so you didn't want to pull her out of her school. Yeah, right. So I took her all the way to her school. So it was a lot. And then we'd get home. Of course, got to feed the babies. They're hungry when they get home, so feed her. And then after the 3rd day, the 4th day, I had to get on to classes, and I had classes all the way up. And I was like, oh, great. It did not go well. Every 5-10 minutes, she was back down the stairs. And then she wanted to, I have a big old Great Dane. So she loved her, but them 2 together. Oh my gosh.
Circus. Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to teach. I'm going to have to wait literally, but it ended up working out. The 2nd day got better and it got better, and it didn't really get good, but it got better.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my short experience with that. I was like, oh my goodness, child.
That's a huge lesson.
Mm-hmm.
That's big. I wanted to ask, so going back to public school, what I realized with my daughter transitioning from a private to a public school is that once she gets into public school, she's calculated and treated as the masses. There's no differentiation with her. Oh, she's such a good kid. It's stop running. Like everybody gets yelled at.
Yeah.
Get down the hall. Why are you late? Like the teacher doesn't alter the tone depending on the child. It's evenly across the board.
Yeah.
And she comes home, she tells me that. She goes, Mom, the teachers talk to me like I'm a bad kid.
Oh, I don't like that.
And I had to explain to her, I said, this part, I need you not to take it personal. But there's so many children like that there's a tone that the teachers just hold. It's nothing personal. Just block that part out and just go along with that part.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's hard though. Like, especially if you hear her yell at a child and then she uses the same tone with you.
Mm-hmm. And you didn't do anything.
Yeah, right?
You didn't do anything. Yeah. So, I mean, but at the end of the day, what do you think the benefits are, but the pros and cons? Like, what do you think the benefits are with private school and public school?
Okay, that's a good question. So with private school, better education. I truly do think private schools, they get better education. Public schools are failing by the masses. Better education, more privilege to things, I feel like private schools do. I feel like you have to be more of an excellent student in public school to get noticed, minus sports, and academics though. Private schools are where the big people want to go. So I think like job opportunities later, colleges, I think you do get a benefit there.
Yeah.
Public school benefit, you learn a lot more street and common smart there.
I'm right there with you. You know how to be tough. You know how to.
You learn how to deal with emotions.
Yes, you learn how to deal with emotions. So it teaches you how to be a tougher. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep.
I definitely learned that.
Yeah. I think, you got to think. Private schools, I know bullying and stuff happens there too, but it's not like private schools. Parents there will not allow half of the stuff that is allowed in public school to happen in their expensive private school.
No, they're not having it. I'm paying. You better fix it.
And they have the right to, because they say they're paying for it. Public school, you can say they're bullying my kid all day and go up there 8 times a week and things don't change.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, in most cases, yes.
Not every case, but in most.
Yeah, in most cases. Luckily, when the few times that I did go up to my daughter's public school, they removed the students. They changed their classes. They rescheduled them. So that was a good thing. And then they, if they couldn't rearrange the students' class, they put my daughter in the front. Bad kids don't want to sit in the front.
No.
We always did. When I was a bad kid, I want to sit in the back and be sneaky.
I want to talk, write notes.
Yeah, I did.
But, I'd be losing my train of thought so fast because I laugh about something and then I go off on a tangent and then it's lost.
Oh man.
But yeah, I don't know. I went to a public school, so I guess I don't know all the private. What this in terms of homeschool, I guess what we grew up, everybody would say homeschool kids were weird kids.
Yes.
And it's funny because like my brother, he's actually now homeschooled. My mom is now going to homeschool him. She just took him out this year to be homeschooled. Yeah.
What grade is what's his level? Where is he at? Is he 5th grade?
He's 12. He's 11. No, he's 12. He just turned 12. What grade is that?
6th grade, 5th or 6th grade. Yeah. 6th grade. 6th grade. Wow. Well, she's pulling him out right now.
He wanted to.
Why?
I don't, okay. So one thing about my brother is he is hard of hearing. He has a cochlear implant. And I think you got to think for him, like what I think, what he thinks. It's got to be hard being in a classroom. And you got to think with his hearing, he might be hearing every other word. And he's got to keep up with that class.
Right.
And you know, he was actually going to, I don't know if you can call it I think it was more of a private school. But he was doing cool things, like it was on a farm and they would do like math on the horses, like write on the horses, and they would do stuff like that. So he got to go to school like that, and it was a smaller classroom, more private for kids, like other kids who had cochlears in. So he went there for a while, but then my mom he wanted to be homeschooled, and my mom decided she could because she works from home, and so she switched it up.
Wow. You know, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, but I wanted to refer back because growing up, we always had such a bad rep on homeschool kids.
Yep. I was getting ready to touch on that.
So go ahead.
Look at me. I'm still talking like
weird.
Yeah.
Well, that's maybe, but no, I wouldn't say it's because they're homeschooled. Because their parents didn't give them enough socialization.
No, I was just being funny. I think it's I've met the kids that have come like to high school after being homeschooled from elementary and middle school. And again, not generalizing or saying, oh, just going to my experience. And I think what we call weird was just social awkwardness. If you haven't been around a bunch of kids in a school, and then your first thing is you go to high school, I would never want to put anybody through that. If you're going to come from homeschool to public school, you need to do it early. Telling someone to enter high school at 9th grade and never being in a public school setting is something I would not put on any child. And then my last thing I'll say about homeschooling is this: homeschooling can be great, but we've seen some of our friend parents, and I wouldn't want them to be homeschooled. I wouldn't want that kid to be homeschooled at all. So it really just depends on who the parents are. Yeah, exactly. And
that is funny.
Well,
knowing your kids.
Smart lady.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I said my brother's lucky because my mom is a smart lady. Yeah. So he's in good hands. She's smart.
Wow, that is so funny. Social awkwardness is huge. And now that, you know, Keone brought that up, I feel like that's what it was. Because we all had like this level of like freshness, and like we knew how to get amongst and navigate through the crowd.
Okay. So I want to ask you about that. Because I feel like our generation, you know, and you know, our generation, I feel like maybe we felt that, but nobody allowed us to diagnose it. It was just like, oh, you're just having a tummy ache. Keep it moving. And then we would have to force ourselves to be that person. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about it. Like growing up, I mean, maybe it wasn't for you, but growing up, anxiety wasn't a thing.
Right.
Wasn't a thing. Like all these things, social awkwardness, even autism was not a thing. Like with growing up. So if we were socially awkward, we were just weird. Something was wrong with us.
Yes.
If we had anxiety or depression, it was just our stomach hurt. You need to you know, we never were allowed to diagnose this or even feel it. It was like, move on, get over it, and keep going. And I think that's why we are that way. And nowadays, everything is able to be diagnosed. It's like, oh, you're feeling the shakes. You have anxiety, honey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everything is. Everybody has anxiety. Everybody has depression. Why?
Yeah. And you know what is so funny, because I was having this very same conversation with somebody that I was in high school with, and we identified the level of anxiety that we ran the campus with. Why were we so jittery and just impulsive and just all over the place? And it was just,
but that was normal. Like
it was anxiety acting out.
Yep. But they would tell us it's your hormones. It's something. It's not anxiety. It's your hormones. And panic attacks weren't a thing. You might be having a heart attack. It's really a panic attack.
So we went through all of that, and she went through therapy. I went through therapy, and we come to the bottom line. I think it really depends on the situation and the resources. Yes, it does. Sid, you're pretty smart.
Thank you.
yes, indeed. Yes, ma'am. And that's, you know, there was never an identification for what we were experiencing.
Nope.
And then, you know, so ADHD was identified even back in those days.
That was our thing. Everybody had ADHD.
Everybody freaking had it. No, that's not
ADHD. Everyone.
Right, your head hurts, ADHD. Everybody got diagnosed with that. Even if you didn't have it, they just couldn't figure it out. It was labeled as such.
It was. Yep,
and
they did that to me.
Isn't that crazy?
And
they
dosed me with medicine and I got super sick and skinny, and I definitely didn't have it. I was having seizures, they thought. So they really wrong diagnosed me.
Yeah, everybody was being wrongfully diagnosed. And see, and that was a time where that was a new discovery of ADHD.
Yeah.
So now every kid that was misunderstood,
definitely,
was labeled that, you know, and because what I realized now, on the outside looking in, so let's say if you have all the students in compliance, all the students are calm, but then there's that one active kid that is like genius and needs to get that energy out, you have ADHD.
You're so right. Oh my God.
It's so wrong.
It is so wrong. And sometimes I worry it's like the new thing now, they're just like, nobody actually, at least now we're giving names to things, like anxiety, like depression, like panic attacks, like ADD is maybe more rightfully being diagnosed, and things are getting better. But I think about that. Sometimes that runs in my head. Like, we weren't allowed to feel that. Everybody always says, when did all this just come up? Like, it's like it just happened overnight. And I'm like, no, it's always been there. We just weren't allowed to diagnose those things. So.
Check this out. Put them in a higher grade. The work may be too easy. Huh. The kids, like the students with ADHD, is that where he's targeting?
I think maybe.
No, I'm talking about sometimes, not even with the ADHD, sometimes when you have a disruptive kid or someone who has too much energy. You know what? Because I watched Abbott Elementary, and I just remembered that was on an episode with the little girl who was acting out all the time, and they realized put her in a higher grade. She'd get work done with her work fast, and she has nothing to do with her energy. So she's bullying kids and doing things and doing all that. And it's like when they put her in the higher grade, now the work is more challenging, and she focused on the work more than she did the bullying. I'm kind of mixing Abbott Elementary with an actual
that's
story
so good though.
I was gonna tell, so I kind of mixed them both up.
No, I love that. It's actually a good thing. I feel like my mom kept us busy. Like sports, I had one-on-one lessons for violin. I mean, she kept me busy. If I wasn't at an orchestra thing or doing a violin lesson, then I was at a sport. And if I wasn't at a sport, I was home, because I was tired.
Yes, wore out, huh? Get all that energy out. I can relate to what Keone was saying. They just need something that's going to hold their attention. When we were doing brick and mortar before the centers shut down, there was a young girl who was that student, bouncing off the walls, messing with the other kids while the kids were trying to study. She was so advanced. I didn't know. I thought she had a thing going on. And then one day I said, do you know what we're doing? Because you're jumping and you're being disruptive. She was like, yeah, you said it like 5 times already. And she just went into her monologue. And I was like, oh, you got your monologue. While everybody was still struggling with their monologue and their commercial, hers was memorized off book. She was bored. She needed something else to challenge her.
Oh my goodness. All right. At that point, you're like, can I even be mad because you did all the work you needed to do?
She did all the work. She was like, I already did everything. You said it like 5 times. And she spit out the monologue, spit out the commercial, did it she flew with it. And I was like,
whew. You know what's crazy? When we do teach and you're in those classes and there's that one student, especially with the PVT, the young class, there's that one student, I'm just like, you have to be on Disney Channel tomorrow. And where's your mom? Because I for her. Yeah. It's just like that star student that like all you see is bright stars in your eyes. Like, they are the one. Go find Disney.
Go find Disney. I know, right?
Yeah.
So, man, you're absolutely right about that. But what I want to take this back around full circle.
I know we sidetracked. Yeah.
When we go back to public school and there's a lot of behavioral issues, I feel like there is not a level of communication.
No.
And as a secondary emotion, the kids are acting out from how they truly feel on the inside.
Yep.
And then when you compare that, not all private schools or homeschools where they get that privilege of where they get to express how they feel and stuff like that. But I feel like a lot of kids in public schools are overlooked and dismissed.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I feel like I was like I said, I'm kids, but I was overlooked and dismissed in public school. And I can imagine now they are too. Think of, it's like double the students and double the hecticness. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure they do. You got to think one, like you said, you're shoving so many students to one classroom.
Mm-hmm. And everybody learns at a different pace. And wow.
There's got to be a better system because every other country does it better. Just saying.
Yeah. Even the lunches are better.
Yeah.
The lunches are better.
Yeah.
My mom was a teacher and she was a great advocate for raise a kid grade before labeling them as bad or having ADD.
Your mom was pretty smart.
Pretty smart, Mom.
Pretty smart mom. Yes, I like that. I really like that.
Man, at the end of the day, it comes down to what you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when there's a lack of education and information, you just go with what you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of scary. We got to educate ourselves. Homeschool, public school, private school. That true statement, knowledge is power.
Mm-hmm. You're saying something because my ear's ringing. It must be the spiritual guides talking. Like, whatever, you're hitting something. So, you know,
I think it's we really need to take the new information and apply it.
We do.
We can't be so in a hurry and so busy that we'll get to it later. That's not going to help us. Yeah. Later is now.
It is.
Any later, it's going to be too late.
Yeah.
You know, and we're seeing a lot of that. You know, with the suicidal rates with young children.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
With young children. So, what can we? I think.
Just breaks my heart. I just want to say you just have to get through high school and it gets better. I promise.
High school was so hard for me. My stomach would hurt. I would be fearful with walking on the campus because I didn't know if I was going to get teased today. I didn't know if I was going to have to fight today. I just didn't know. I did not know. And that was, freshman year, a little bit of sophomore. My junior and senior kind of panned out a little bit, but I still dealt with I still had those anxieties.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody taught me how to. Now I know how to cope through my anxiety, to cope through I'm feeling anxious. Take a moment.
Nobody would diagnose you with anxiety. That's why. There's no way, you know? So you had to learn how to deal with it and go through it.
Yeah. Not go through it. Just live with it.
Yeah, I guess that's a better word to say.
You know, I just was
not
living
really going
with
through
it.
It's going to be back tomorrow when I come back to school.
My stomach would hurt and be in knots, and my mouth would get so dry.
I know. Oh, I know that feeling so well. Like, you know, the minute you walk into school, you're going to hear the bad names called at you. Hate that.
I hated it. So what I will say is that high school made me a tougher person as an adult. But don't get me wrong. Is it true? Is it just me? But I still deal with those slight fears.
Yeah.
Of, judgment and, but as you get older, you do get to a place where you care less about what people think. But that thing, a subtle piece of that thing is still there sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to think it's kind of trauma in a way. And I feel like that's going to stay with you. It's something you can work through. Like I said, you get therapy, you can work through it. You can work through your emotions and learn how to deal with it. But it's still trauma. It's still trauma that maybe triggered and started your anxiety.
Trauma. Wow. That's it. That's the word.
Yeah. It's trauma. And maybe that's why I'm so nice in public all the time. I will, even if something's wrong, you won't catch me yelling in public unless somebody came from my family or my wife. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I think it's because of the embarrassment almost too. It's because in high school, I was so embarrassed walking through the halls and everybody's staring at you while people call you names. And so I think part of me is like, I never like to be embarrassed in public. Ever.
Oh my goodness.
I'd do whatever to not be embarrassed in public.
Oh my gosh. So this is a little off topic, but it relates, right? I didn't come from a wealthy family, right?
Yeah.
And I used to get teased about what I didn't have. And when I would ask my mom, she would get the best that she could, but it wasn't quote unquote the standard of what the high school kids demanded. You got to have a pair of Nikes, you got to have a pair of J's, you got to have the latest hairstyle. So I began to steal to get those things.
I get it.
It like pushed out this, I have to have this. I don't want to get talked about without having name brand shoes or like this thing. I hate it. I don't never want to go to high school again.
Ever again. You know, I will say now, like, in terms of embarrassment, like being silly, that's not a thing. I mean, embarrassment is like yelling or being like what you would say Karen in public. That's like embarrassing. I'm talking about like if I want to do a silly dance with my friends in public, that's not embarrassing to me. You know what I mean? So there's levels, but I'm saying like I will never, like even if somebody was rude to me, you won't catch me yelling back unless it's very called for because of that. But you know, you're right. It's
the pressure of it all.
It's crazy.
Pressure of it all. Wow. Man.
Too much pressure. See, now you're like, I gotta look fly wherever I go. And I'm like, don't embarrass me.
Right. You know, and because I think we tend to overcompensate more of what we lacked in fear when we were younger.
Yes, that's great. Yes.
I think that's what it, you know, not for everybody, but you know.
At the end of the day, I guess we're going to be continuously working on all our stuff.
all of it. But this is an ongoing thing.
It is.
We're always going to be looking to improve some area of our lives. If not, it's going to hag us. We got to take care of this. We got to get this done. So, you know, so what do you prefer? Do you prefer a public school over a private school or private over public?
Okay, to be honest, if I had the means, I would want to put my kid in a private school.
Yeah.
Public schools scare me a little bit because of all the like boom booms that happen. And I think that's another reason why my brother's homeschooled too. And you know, it actually made me feel comfortable. It just scares me sometimes. You know what I mean? And so I would probably do private if I had the means, but let's be real, they're very expensive. Most people don't have the means to do that, especially in this economy. So then I think I would start in public school.
You would start in public and transfer?
And if to homeschool, if I couldn't afford private school, if they wanted later on. But I think I would start in public school because although, I mean, if I could afford a private school, private, but like I said, most of the time not. So I would do a public before homeschooled, only because like I said, I learned a lot. I learned how to be a tough cookie. You know, I still have my things where I won't be embarrassed, but also nobody will walk over me. And I'll tell you
that part.
I will fight to the death if I ever have to. And I learned that from high school, you know, and
public school forces you to fight for your life.
Yeah, it does. It's like you're in a sea with sharks. That's what it is.
That's exactly what it is.
And I think your kids can learn proper ways to respond and how to I think it can teach them a little not to be too sensitive.
Yeah. And to discern so many different personalities. The aggressive ones, when you get that feeling, you know that person's a fighter. When you get that, you know that one's the bully. That's
good right there. Discern certain personalities. Yes. You learn so much. I tell you, Darvanique, without public school, we may not take the criticism in this industry.
I was a mushy poo. Homeschooling doesn't have to be done at home. Travel if you can. Life experiences is the best teacher. Yes.
That is so true. Yeah, if I had the means to travel everywhere and take my kid to Europe, Japan, then that would be their school. I would choose that first.
Absolutely. You know, one of the things that I got in class when I was teaching was one of the students said, I go to a private school and I'm almost going to be a pilot. She wasn't even 18 yet. Yeah. And she was going to pilot school. That was like what is that? Like a outside curriculum. You know how you can get like an outside curriculum that's out of the campus?
Yeah.
So before she turns 21, she's going to be a pilot. Isn't that phenomenal?
Yeah, that's insane. That's how school should be, though.
That's what I'm talking about.
So that's
like where are things like that? You know, where you can be in high school, but there's high school programs that take you off the campus for
like trade school.
Yeah.
You will waste all your time in community college or prereqs or all this. It's crazy. Yeah. I think
we need more of that. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
there's a group of students, and I know here in Houston there is a level of that. I've seen this program at a police station where they take high school students and they bring them there and they teach them how to become law enforcement, and they teach them and they they go back to school. It's like a class session time.
Mm-hmm.
So if the class is an hour, they leave, get there for an hour, and then they come back to campus before they. Yeah. So that's kind of the stuff I'm into. Like, if you're going to go to public school, I'm hoping to be a part of a public school that has those resources.
That is beautiful. I love those resources because I think that's smart to kind of push your kid more towards a trade. Figure out what you want to do. I really don't think going to college for business and mass communications and like those broad subjects are not helping anymore. When you get out, it's like you're not hireable anymore. And
go ahead.
No, I was going to say one last thing. You know, it's crazy. You were saying that she was going to be a pilot by 21. Growing up, my mom had some friends and we would go have dinner at their house and their kids were like 12, 11, and 10. And they were all about to graduate and go start prereqs at Harvard. They were so smart. I'm not even kidding. I just want to tell you that story. Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, nuh-uh. Can you imagine how I felt as a kid? I was like,
I'm like, why can't we get that?
That's a loser. I can't go to Harvard at 12. I don't even think I can get into Harvard. This one's going at 12.
That is beyond impressive. That is beyond impressive. Crazy.
Yeah. But anyway, sorry. Let's go back to what we were saying.
I don't even remember. I don't remember.
Stuck on the Harvard children.
I don't remember.
We're talking about how she's going to be a pilot and how you'd want to go to a public school that has those resources.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Entrepreneurship.
Yes.
I think there should be a course where they teach you how that process works. Mm-hmm. I think children should learn how to build LLCs. You know, what does that take? What is
taxes? We should
be right. I'm still struggling because I was never taught that, by the way.
We weren't taught anything. Like, let's be real. We were taught fake history that most of it's not true. No, Christopher Columbus was not a hero. Okay. And so can we stop with the fake history and the crap math we never need to use? Teach us how to start businesses, balance.
Okay.
You know, it's funny. Someone said what you learn in public school, you're taught how to enter the workforce so that the people in charge can make more money.
Exactly. We're taught how to be the 9 to 5s. And that's why we go to school for so long, so that when they put us in the work field for 12-hour shifts in a factory, nobody complains.
Because you got to remember, school was made for people of higher class and with money. And when someone figured out, hey, we educate people on how to work for us, we can still make more money. As the world became as the world became more industrialized, you needed smarter workers. It used to be keep people who don't have a certain level of life dumb, but they don't know anything, so they're dependent upon you. And now it's become that now they're dependent upon us or the people who are in the cogs. So it's like, let's have smarter workers. That way we can, it's better for us. So
wow,
that's funny how that happens.
Isn't that funny how that happens?
Because you go to some schools and you look at what they're learning, and I can tell you my biggest, not to get racial, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I've told the story before. My mom used my grandma's address so I could go to the middle school and elementary school outside of my neighborhood, which was predominantly not Black, right? But my neighborhood was 98% Black, right? The other 2% was Hispanic. That's how many. So I, of course, did not know how to handle getting called certain names and doing certain things. So what do? I fight. My teacher's like, he's always fighting. But there's a reason why I was doing that. No one just bothered to ask. It's just you're a bad kid. So I got kicked out of the middle school in the 6th grade. I had to go to the middle school in my neighborhood. Well, my mom thought I was doing so much better. And she's like, the teachers say you're a genius. You're so good at math. And I said, I'm doing math in the 6th grade that I did in the 4th grade at the others when I went to the other place.
Wow.
And that was like my first indication of, oh, we don't learn the same depending on where you live.
Right.
That's why I went from being a C and D student to being a straight A student.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got sent back to because I was like, I got to get out of here. When I got sent back to the middle school that I went from, I became an A and B student because I was like, I can't get sent back to where I just went because I didn't learn a thing.
Wow. That's a big difference.
Yeah.
That's huge.
When you get picked at for being, I'm not a genius. You were just smarter. And then what happens is the kids in my class now started to bully me. So it's like now I'm around people who look like me, but I'm being bullied because if I say something, I'm smarter than I think you think you're smarter than everybody. It's like, no, I was just answering the question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I raised my hand first. I was taught to raise my hand and answer the question. So it was just like but from what you're talking about, Sydney, how does a parent navigate you through that instead of just doing the basic thing of you did bad in school, let me spank you? Like, how are you helping that kid navigate through that? And so I heard a lot about Darvinique helping her navigate. I didn't hear any stereotypical parent things like, if they pick on you, they're not your friends. Yeah. It's not about the outside, it's the inside. Like all the Disney's like, great, but that's not how real life works.
Yeah. That's another thing.
Yeah. There's going to be some assholes. And like Darvinique said, hey, like my dad used to say, don't put your hands on nobody. But I ain't telling you not to put your hands on nobody if they bring you there.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. That's good. We can stick a pin right there,
If I had a kid and somebody punched them in the nose and they punched them right back, they're getting a high five.
High five. That's so true. To say the least, I second that.
You gotta defend yourself.
And you have every right to defend yourself. Typically they're going to say what they want anyways. But what I will teach you is how to just we're going to work this out. But if they put their hands on you.
Exactly. If it's words, you have no right to touch them.
You're right. That's so,
only when you need to defend yourself, which
is why I made a lot of appearances tonight. I remember this one kid used to call me so many bad names. I broke his nose. It was like third grade. My mom beat the crap out of me and said, don't do that when somebody uses what I was fighting in school. So there's many more things you could do that for than that, which we're not getting to. But my dad, I heard as I walked away, I heard my dad say, I bet you he won't call them names no more though.
I like your dad.
That kid never called me. Because you know what dads will do, right? Dads will give you the 4 pops on the butt and go, did you win, though?
Right.
Yeah, I won. Okay, good job.
That would be me, though, as the mom. I'd be like, what did you win?
Yeah, don't get in trouble and then tell your dad you lost.
Oh, my goodness.
He's like, if you're going to fight and get in trouble in school, at least win.
At least
what a weight agent.
Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, it was wonderful having this episode tonight of public school versus private school and homeschool. We threw some homeschool in there. It's so much to unpack with such a subject. But on the next episode of Pretty Smart, stay tuned. We got some wonderful things coming up. Who knows? We might talk about one of your topics.
Yeah. So drop some
topics, and we'll see you on the next show.
Bye.
Good night.